All right, welcome everybody. We should be live and online right now. Can somebody just type into the chat bar? Can you hear me okay? How's our volume? Still have, okay, maybe there's a bit of a delay with the Google Hangout because I show that we can't hear any audio. Okay, hold on. Okay, so the message I'm getting is that because we're on a Google Hangout platform, there's a little bit of a delay between when I speak and when I hear. But because I'm the only one speaking, it shouldn't matter. You guys should get it all in real time relative to yourselves. Okay. Just as a quick comment on that, we're using this new webinar platform technology. It's very exciting. It's got a lot of cool features and benefits to it that we're rolling out today. So we may have a little bit of tech issues. I hope we don't, but we're going to jump right into our presentation here. I'm adjusting volume. Sounds like it was a little bit loud. Okay, you guys, you should see my slides. My name is Mark Hackman. I am the Senior Business Advisor for the School for Startups. As always, it's my pleasure to be here and speak with you on these live online sessions that we have. I know a lot of you are here from School for Startups. Many of you from here for School for Creative Startups, some of our other Southwest regional programs, and a lot of other folks have been invited as well that we've grown and had relationships with over the years. So appreciate everybody being here. Our webinar today is going to be a bit of a departure from some of our previous events because today we're going to talk about some skill sets, or what I call the hard tasks or more tangible skills required to become successful as an entrepreneur, as well as a mix of some of the more soft skills or intangible assets that I'm convinced you absolutely must acquire and accomplish if you ever want to become successful long-term as an entrepreneur. So I want to start today, before I get into my content, I want to talk about a story, right? Because selling is so crucial. We're not born salespeople, most of us, right? It's a learnable skill. When I was a child, still in elementary school, I had just started taking drum lessons and I wanted to get my first drum. And there was an opportunity for us to go as students to our neighbors, friends and family, whoever, and sell greeting cards, right? You see kids today doing that. They sell greeting cards. Now the big thing is cookie dough, whatever it is. But back then it was greeting cards. I wanted to get my first drum and I had to sell 18 boxes of holiday cards. My sister, who's a year older than me, wanted to get a prize too. So we were going to go out together and she was going to sell her, I think it was 20 boxes and mine was 18. Now keep in mind, I was really tiny. I didn't grow until much later. And my sister was only a year older than me, but she was like a foot taller. She was a big, strong girl. And I was just kind of meek, mild little kid, right? So we went, the very first people we went to was our next door neighbors who we'd known and been in their house 1,000 times, right? And I was terrified because now I'm trying to sell something, right? I had no confidence that I could do this. So as soon as we knocked on the door, I jumped behind my sister and I didn't say a word. I kind of peeked around and said hi to the mom of my friends at that house, right? And we sold some cards and we went around and did this exact same thing. Neighbor after neighbor after neighbor. My sister did all the talking. I stood behind her completely terrified, right? But I got 18 boxes of holiday cards sold. I got my first drum, and it started me off on this just extraordinary new adventures in my life as a drummer, right? So a couple of things I took away from that, not immediately, but at some point I realized if you're going to be successful in business, if you're going to be successful in sales, you have to do one of two things. You either got to learn how to sell, right? Which at that time I couldn't do, or you got to have a really good sales staff, which in this case happened to be my sister, right? So those lessons have paid off for me dramatically over the years. You fast forward a couple of decades, and even as an adult, out of school and going into my first businesses, I was terrified to sell. So I realized, like everything else, I have to learn how to do this, right? I had to learn accounting and finance. I had to learn how to write a business plan. I had to learn how to do all kind of things, right? Selling was one of them. So at some point in my life, I was on stage in front of 20,000 people selling stuff. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is a far cry from the frightened little boy hiding behind his sister who couldn't sell a box of holiday cards to get his first prize, right? I've been in front of rooms selling tickets valued in the tens of thousands of dollars, right? And I don't say this to draw attention to myself and say, look how great a salesperson I am. I still don't think I'm a very good at sales, but my point is anybody can learn to sell. Just like you can learn to play a musical instrument, you can learn a sport, right? You can learn how to create whatever products and services you're selling. You can learn how to sell too. So that's really the point of that story, is that we're going to talk about some things today at a very introductory level, how you can hopefully get on track to become effective at selling. We're going to talk first about some things that you may be doing wrong, right? It's just as important to stop doing wrong things as it is to learn the appropriate things. We're going to talk then a little bit about introduction to the psychology of selling, and then we're going to talk about sort of a basic checklist that you need to go through before you even go out and start trying to sell something to somebody. After the presentation is over, you guys, I've got an announcement. There's some really cool, fun, current, exciting stuff going on at the School for Startups. So I'm going to take a minute and make that announcement. So you're going to want to stick around and hear that. And then after, excuse me, after that, we're going to go into a live Q&A. I'll open up the chat bar again, and you can type in whatever questions you have related to selling. So let's just jump straight into our content here and keep moving. The first thing you need to determine in sales is, are you B2B or B2C? Some of you will be both. B2B means business to business. Your business is selling to other businesses or companies. B2C means your business is selling to consumers, clients, customers, right? The end user themselves. So either way, one of the most important aspects of either is you must build strong relationships with your potential buyers based on your ability to communicate clearly, competently, completely what your unique value is, your differentiation, right? The advantages and features and benefits of doing business with you, why your products, your company, your services are different, bigger, better, bolder than somebody else. And those of you that have gone through course or part of course with us at School for Startups, you know we talk about this as a bottom line, very, very important concept, right? Another thing that's very crucial, whether it's B2B or B2C, is you always must, in my opinion, have the perception of your customer. So many of us walk in, and it's a rookie mistake, but unfortunately there are guys I know have been selling 20, 30, 40 years that are still stuck on this, and they've limited their success because of this. They're always talking about, look at us, look what we have, it's cool, it's modern, it's hip, it's trendy, it's whatever it is, and it's always about them, right? If your conversation with your potential prospect is always about me, you're losing a whole lot of value. So you see there, WIIFM, what's in it for me? You always must be asking the question, what's in it for me, but not from your perspective, from the perspective of your potential customer. Always focus on your customer, right? You want to make their buying experience easy. We're going to talk about going from a no to a yes. Those of you that work with me personally, you know I say all the time, your job is to make it as easy as possible for your customer to tell you yes, right? Makes sense. Happy customer is what? They're going to come back and buy from you again, and very likely they're going to give you some referrals as well. So again, sticking with just the B2C and B2B for a moment, there's a lot of overlap in these two categories. We're going to focus today on B2C. The vast majority of the students that come through School for Startups or Creative Startups, and most small businesses that we talk to are B2C. We're going to do some advanced training on B2B on another event, but today our specific focus will be on those of you that are selling products and services to end consumers, right? One of the challenges of that is the marketplace is changing so dramatically. Cultures change, people change, the times change, technology is so rapidly changing that the needs, the wants, the don't wants of our client base, our customer base is ever changing. So you've got to be able to keep up with that. One of the advantages of a B2C sell, excuse me, over a B2B sell is the sales cycle is typically very, very short. Sometimes it's instantaneous, right? Somebody comes on your website and makes a purchase. There's no sales cycle at all. It took 90 seconds, right? Or if you've got a brick and mortar shop on the street, people walk in the door, they see something you like, they buy it. There's not much of a sales cycle involved. Where sometimes there will be, if you have to make phone calls or you do a sales call in person, whatever it happens to be, there may be some education required, and it takes you 1 or 2 or 3 or several visits or conversations to make that happen. Hold on, I'm just getting a message here. I just got a question about increasing the size of the screen. I'm sorry, you guys, at this point, I cannot. It's one of the tech issues that we're working out, so we'll be able to make it a little bit bigger. But for now, if you can adjust your own view on your screen, that's probably the best we can do right now, okay? So, again, staying with B2C, I mentioned sometimes it's important to, excuse me, figure out some of the things that you're doing wrong. I've worked with literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of small businesses, startups, even middle-sized businesses that are retooling. So I know what causes them to fail at sales. And also I've had my own personal experience, a little bit of which I shared with you, right? Most small business owners, especially at the startup phase, really fail at selling. Unless you're sold out of all your products and services all the time, you could be doing better. So whether you're completely failing or not doing as well as you could, hopefully today there'll be some information that helps you get a little bit better at that. The problem typically isn't the business owner. It's not you per se. It's typically a lack of experience. I told you, everything's a learnable skill. So if you haven't learned it yet, that's not a bad thing. It's just something that you need to do. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of bad advice. There's a lot of so-called gurus out there that are selling false information for profit, and it's really unfortunate. So I'm going to go quickly through 5 excuse me, 5 typical reasons why a lot of small businesses fail. First one is, I call the flavor of the month, right? You don't stick with your sales strategy long enough, right? This happens not only any size business do that. You see it all the time. Well, we're going to try this for 30 days. It doesn't work. So we're going to jump over to something else. 60 days later, that hasn't worked. We're going to go jump and try something else. That's so short-sighted, right? The most successful entrepreneurs, whether they're brand new in the business or a global behemoth, typically will have a well thought out strategy, a sales and marketing plan, right? Very detailed, and they're going to stick with it to prove that it works, or long enough to prove that it doesn't work or needs to be modified, but don't jump, you know, strategy to strategy to strategy too often. The solution to this problem is stay focused. I'm having an issue with my, hold on here. Sorry guys, I seem to have lost ability to navigate my PowerPoint. I'm so sorry, I'm not sure what happened. I'm going to just give me a couple seconds here and see if we can resolve this. Oh boy. Well, this is, I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of folks on the call, and I hate taking your time with this. We've tested this multiple times over the last week, and this part of the technology worked flawlessly, and for some reason now it's not pulling up the PowerPoint, and I can't seem to get to it. Hold on, just bear with me. I'm going to see if I can resolve this as quickly as possible manually. Here we go. All right. Well, you know what? I'm just beyond an ability to tell you what's going on. The system literally dumped access to my PowerPoint. Let me try to I've got this saved as another file. Let me see if I can catch up with that. Hold on, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to try something real quick here.